So in today's video, I'll be walking you through the best strategy for how to win in Fortnite Chapter 2 Season 3. Now I have spent hours upon hours of researching what the best players do to win in Fortnite to create this one incredible strategy that you should follow. So get ready, because I think that you will all love this video, and you definitely will not want to miss out on anything that I have to say. Now, in addition to all this, on this channel I do show you how to win in Fortnite, how to get better at it quickly, and how to improve at all sorts of Fortnite things, so be sure to subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss out on anything, and help me get to 30,000 subscribers. Honestly, that would help me out a ton. Anyway, now I know the stigma that exists with these types of videos. I never want to be one of those clickbait YouTubers doing fake giveaways or begging for likes. I do not do YouTube full time, but instead for fun, and I simply want to give my best advice to help you all out with winning in Fortnite. And also, yes, I know the title does say win every game, and I was not lying. With my strategy, you can theoretically win every game, and if that is not good enough for you, at the end of the video I will show you all an incredibly easy and simple glitch that you can use to guarantee an infinite amount of wins. I know this sounds too good to be true, but just trust me and watch the video. I am sure you will not be disappointed. So to use strategy, the very first thing that you want to do is find a few good locations to land at when playing in a game. You see, the ideal locations would be somewhere towards the edge of the map where other players likely won't be going to. Because the deadliest part of a match is in fact the early game, by finding a safe place to land at to get loot, you are effectively doubling the chance you have of winning in that game, with a daunting number of 100 players in the lobby turning down to less than 50 within only the first few minutes of the game. Of course, where to land depends heavily on the rotations of the battle bus, because when following the strategy, you will never want to land somewhere too close to where the bus flies over. So it's important to have a few locations to land at in mind before even heading into a game. Anyway, I highly recommend memorizing the chests and the item spawns at a few locations, whatever you like best, just like these, to give you a solid start to every game that you play. However, no matter what loot you get, it will not matter unless you know what to do with that loot later on in the game. Now, once you looted the location you landed at, it will likely be time to begin rotating towards the storm. Now, this is where the key component of the strategy takes place. So earlier on in the game, hopefully you memorized, or at least got an idea of where the bus flied over. This piece of information is vital for whenever you are playing Fortnite, so be sure to make a habit out of memorizing it. But regardless, your goal here is to position yourself in a scenario where you are not surrounded in several directions by opponents, but instead, all of the opponents are in a single direction from you, and you can be the one instead pushing them into a situation that they do not want to be in. Now, this will allow you to have complete control over whatever you fight that you get into, and will prevent you from getting into a situation where instead you are the one who are surrounded by opponents and are effectively trapped with absolutely no control over the situation. Anyway, doing this is not as easy as you may first expect. Initially, you may think to position yourself by one of the edges of the storm circle. And if you thought this, well, you are not entirely wrong. Going back to what I mentioned before about the battle bus rotation, you can use this piece of information to make an educated guess where the opposing players are on the map. In a regular game, people tend to jump from the bus early on and land close to where it flies over. However, in competitive, it's often the opposite, with the players being more patient and less risky by landing far from where the battle bus flies over after riding it towards the edge of the map. So once you have a general idea of where people are on the map, when the storm circle is announced, you can make an educated guess on where those people will rotate to. Then just position yourself slightly away from those people in the storm circle so you can catch people when they are rotating in. Though be extremely careful, because whatever you do not want to get caught where everyone is rotating to. If that happens, it's likely you will find yourself surrounded by players in a situation that is next to impossible to get out of. Of course, if you don't feel like risking it to get a few extra eliminations and are dedicated to winning, then simply head to the back of the storm circle and find somewhere to hide until the next circle. Now, one extra thing that you should keep in mind is that, as I briefly mentioned before, in competitive lobbies, most likely your opponents will also be aware of rotations, causing for the supposed safest parts of the circle to instead become the most dangerous parts of the circle. In a situation like this, you will need to be a bit more clever and find somewhere more in between. Now, one more bonus, amazing thing that you can do to give yourself an advantage, not just in the mid game, but the entire game, is to play in a game of duos or squads with a good friend of yours. You see, I've played my fair share of squads with friends in Fortnite, but to be honest, we weren't very good. We were incredibly disorganized, all being on different devices and having our own goals in mind, and whenever we actually got into a fight, we were each picked off one by one. Now, what I'm trying to say is, a lot of people play Fortnite with their friends for the sake of just having fun, even if they don't work well together. So because of this, often in games of squads, or even sometimes duos, there are a plethora of weak teams. In a game of squads, it's very rare to see even one team whose every player is strong and well communicated with the rest of the team. Therefore, if you have a few good friends that are decent at Fortnite, you immediately have a game-breaking advantage against all of your opponents simply by playing with them. Honestly, you will be surprised. Of course, though, if you don't have friends to play with, a lot of my friends stopped playing Fortnite forever ago. Feel free to make friends down in the comments below. Because I know how hard it can be getting your comment to show up and everything, I will be hearting all of the comments that I see of those who are looking for friends to play with. But whether you are an aggressive or a passive player, there should be room for you in this strategy for you to survive the mid-game in Fortnite. So assuming that you are still following the strategy, you will find yourself in the endgame. Of course, if you are out and about trying to eliminate players in the mid-game, you may not always make it to this stage, but as I mentioned before, if you love to eliminate players, but still want the guarantee of winning, I'll go through a simple glitch allowing you to do so over at the end of the video. So definitely be sure to stick around to this video, especially because the endgame is one of the most trickiest parts of Fortnite. Anyway, because this stage is so late in the game, you will likely have the least amount of practice with it, but that can easily change. I highly recommend beforehand practicing in creative game modes like Zone Wars that simulate the endgame experience. This will allow you to feel more comfortable in endgame situations and give you a hefty advantage against your opponents who likely lack the practice that you do. One other thing that I highly recommend you do, and this applies really to any stage of the game, is watching professional players play and see what strategies that they use to win fights in different situations. A big part of Fortnite is strategy, and it's not just who has the best aim or who could build the fastest, so developing a good endgame strategy that works well for you is important and will give you an incredible advantage. However, for now, I'll give you my personal strategy for how to secure the win. Now, before you do anything, regardless of how many people are left or where the storm is, see if you are nervous. Now, when I first started out, whenever I came close to winning, I would panic and I would make some dumb mistake I wouldn't have otherwise made in a million years if I was not nervous. What I'm saying is that when your brain is nervous, it goes into a fight or flight response, even if you are not in any physical danger. But your brain does not realize that. This is what leads to you making dumb mistakes in the endgame. However, thankfully, countering this is very, very easy. Simply find a safe spot on the map, pause for a second, and take a few deep breaths, and remind yourself that you're just playing a video game and there's no real reason to be nervous. Now, if you remain calm under the incredibly serious pressure of a Fortnite match, just like that, you will have a huge advantage against your opponents who likely aren't handling that incredibly immense stress as well as you are. So now into the mechanics of what to do. Now, a lot of people recommend pushing to the highest ground that you can find on the map. That way, you can see where everyone is while being able to shoot at them from above. Now, if you are a confident player and believe that you can safely take high ground, then go right ahead. However, just know that taking high ground makes you a bit of a target. Everyone will know where you are, and players may push you, trying to take that high ground for themselves. And this does not even include the fact that it's possible high ground may already be taken and or an unsafe distance from where you already stand on the map. So what I like to do is find a less high profile area to scout out the other players from and to make a mental note on where everyone is so I know where to avoid and where people will most likely be rotating to. Now if you do not already have a safe and off the grid area to hide or cannot find one, I advise that you build a 3-story high 1x1. Sure, players will know where you are. However, if you make it clear that you are not someone to be messed with by doing things like shooting at them, it is most likely that they will not push you unless it puts them at a strategical advantage. Of course, still be careful to not overly expose yourself when shooting at players, as if you do, you will likely get sniped or at a minimum shot at. Anyway, just stick to your side of the circle and distance yourself from the other players while rotating to the new storm circles until it's only you and one or if not 2 other players left. Unfortunately, even to the passive players out there, at this point, you will need to eliminate the last player or possibly 2. Now to do this, I advise taking advantage of when they are the most vulnerable, which is when they are rotating in from the storm circle. Once the next storm circle does get announced, make your way to it as quickly as possible and then build up to high ground. Be sure to put yourself in a position where they must push you, or at least pass near you, to get into the storm circle. Eventually, they will begin rotating to you, and at that point, simply shoot at them and take advantage of your high ground. At this point, they will be forced to push you regardless of where they stand on health or materials. So be sure to use your advantage to win the fight, and if you do this, you will win the game. But yes, I know this process is incredibly complicated, and in the title it says win every game. No, I was not lying. I understand every person is human, and my strategy is flawed. Each game won't go exactly as planned every round, and that is okay. Because you know what is not human? Bots. Okay, that doesn't really make any sense. While Fortnite is a game of strategy, it is not like chess in the sense that bots are actually decent at the game. In fact, bots are incredibly easy to beat. Therefore, if hypothetically speaking, you were to enter a lobby with 100% bots, well, winning won't be too difficult, and you can do it every time, regardless of if you follow my strategy or not. Well, thankfully, this is possible. As I mentioned in a previous video on this very subject, of course you can click the icon to watch, you can get into a bot-only lobby if you have a second account that is on Fortnite Mobile. This account must be brand new and have 0 games on it played. Simply enter a game of duos or squads with that account, and while that account is on the loading screen, loading into the game, simply close the app on that device. It's that simple. When you load in on your main account, it will be a completely regular game, so you can get XP and play as usual, and then take an easy win. This works because when someone creates a new account on Fortnite Mobile, Epic puts them against all bots to give them a free win or 2 to start their Fortnite experience off on a good note. Anyway, that's really all. Even if you don't feel like actually trying to get a win, you can still easily do so with bot-only lobbies. Now if you did enjoy this video, want to learn more about how to win in Fortnite, get better at it quickly and improve at all sorts of Fortnite things, you can start off by subscribing and clicking the bell so you don't miss out on anything, and help us get to 30,000 subscribers by clicking here. And to support me, you can use code StormRanger and buy my merchandise by clicking here. Finally, click this card right here to learn how to get better insanely quickly in Fortnite, and this card right here to check out my second channel. But that is all I have for now, and I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye.